Hello, welcome to another video for the yearbook. Today we will talk about Ishkur, Galantia assault frigate. Ishkur was redesigned in November 2022. I tested it quite extensively for 2025 yearbook, and I found that people still don't utilize this ship fully. I will talk about feats in more detail in the second part of the video, so for now just a very brief overview. In terms of win rate, Ishkur is actually one of the strongest frigates and one of the strongest assault frigates, and if you discard Nergal, it's actually the best assault frigate. The reason why it's so good is that you can use drones, and drones allow for a lot of flexibility in feats, and they also mitigate most issues with control. So as for the profile, this ship has 443 slot layout and bonus to armor rep amount. So typically it looks like a brawler. You can use 4 medium slots for propulsion, web, scrum, and then something else. This something else can be cap booster, second web, or Evor. And with armor rep amount bonus, you can kind of hope to out tank and out DPS your opponent, since you also have blasters as your secondary source of DPS. And as you can see, about 80% of Ishkurs will use blasters, but I tested Kiting Ishkur and I found it very strong as well. I think this is one of the feats that's really underutilized currently. Drones plus rails plus tracking disruptor in the 4th medium slot give you a lot of staying power and a lot of flexibility in what you can engage. As for performance, let's go from the most popular to the least popular matchups. So Tech 1 destroyers and Tech 1 frigates can't really engage Ishkur at all, just tank to DPS and control is superior. Against Navy destroyers, which will be probably your main targets in this ship, I would say it's a bit weaker when the Hawk, because Navy destroyers can clear the drones quite quickly. But still there is not much they can do in terms of actually killing you, because your control is just massively superior. And when you fight against Navy frigates, here Ishkur is actually stronger, especially Kiting Ishkur, because you don't have issues with damage application. So even when a Navy frigate has control, it still cannot really do much with that control other than forcing a draw. And as you can see, the overall win rate is almost 90% against Navy frigates. And the final popular matchup is against assault frigates. I think against assault frigates, Ishkur is above average, because you have, to some extent, selectable DPS with drone damage. And in this assault frigates versus assault frigates mirror, it's super important, because assault frigates kind of counter each other with Tech 2 resists, and it's crucial to have some somewhat selectable damage to shoot in the resist hole. All other matchups are very rare, you don't really need to worry about them. Okay, next let's talk about the most popular and strong feats. I will start with close range feats because they are more popular. The biggest decision in close range feats is between fitting 1 rep or 2 reps. I personally prefer fitting 1 rep because it leaves a lot of flexibility for the rest of the feat. But I will show you both of these feats. So this is a feat with a single rep. It's fairly straightforward. You have 3 guns, propulsion, 2 webs and a scrum, ADC and some tank. As a general rule, you want dead space rep on armor assault frigates because with higher cap pool, better resists, you just get more value out of them than out of small ancillary rep. But it's up to you. They are not that expensive. I think it's worth it's a worthy investment. But you can use small ancillary rep. Now, why I prefer this fit is because you have a ton of refits, very easy refits. So one thing that I found when I tested this Blaster Ishkur is that you still really need decent control to make this fit work well. Because still a good portion of your DPS comes from the guns, and your guns do not have any projection bonus, so you have to rely on good control to actually apply damage. And this is why I really like to feed two webs to kind of get this control for this ship. And you can also swap micro warp drive for an afterburner and get even more control if you are sure that the fight is going to go in scrum range all the time. And depending on the specific opponent, you can also adjust your feed on the fly very easily. So you can feed tracking disruptor. This is useful against destroyers. So feed like afterburner, tracking disruptor, weapon scrum. This will counter any close range destroyer. Macro warp drive, tracking disruptor, weapon scrum will counter most kiting destroyers, and so on. You also can feed cap booster. This is to protect against newts, especially when you fight against cruisers. So against cruisers, I would feed something like afterburner, cap booster, weapon scrum, and this way you can just permatank even under some newton pressure, and you will get under the guns usually, and so on. There are a bunch of refits that you can use depending on their position. So the second fit is dual rep. Dual rep essentially locks you into a single fit. There is really nothing you can do. So you must have a cap booster to fuel 2 reps, scrum web obviously, and generally you need an afterburner. You can kind of cram a micro warp drive here, but I think it's quite difficult. Yeah, it's quite difficult on the cap, but it's possible, I guess. So you can use this one. And there is no really space for any utility, so you just go with triple blasters. The obvious problem with this fit is the lack of control. So any like Navy frigates will be able to just scrum kite and leave. Of course, they will not be able to break you, but they will have a control. And if you fight against like a close range destroyer and you're out of position, you may actually have a bit of a problem with just flat out tanking them until you pull a bit of range, because the tank is pretty solid, but it's not enough to just face tank a Navy destroyer. But it works. The tank is very high for 1v1, and it works generally. The final, very rare feat, but you should be familiar with it. It's common for most ships that rely on drone DPS. This is like a typical tactic, is to drop one of the guns and feed 2 newts. Like, yes, you sacrifice some gun DPS, but you can also hard counter a couple of feats that may not expect this from the Ishkur at all. The general logic is that you just go with a capacitor booster to fuel the newts and your tank, and when you target all cap dependent frigates and destroyers and try to just out tank them until they run out of cap, and after that it's a win. And the final feat that I want to show is the kiting Ishkur. This is the feat that I really enjoyed flying. So you have a railguns in high slots, macro warp drive, warp disruptor, tracking disruptor, and small cap booster to fuel all of this stuff. Nano, 2 polycarbons. I found that these are a bit better when trying to increase your optimal range with rigs. And when I use small ancillary rep, I wasn't really in situations where I needed dead space rep, but as usual, as I mentioned before, you can just swap these for the A-type dead space rep for 20 million. But I found that it's not really necessary for kiting feat, because your main tank will be from SIG tanking and track and disruption mitigation. So this feat works, and your drones, by the way, you should have one pack of high tanky drones, because most of your opponents, once they realize that they cannot actually kill you, they will start killing your drones. And your drones should last for as long as possible. And the drones that last as long as possible are Navy Hornets. So one of the packs should be Navy Hornets, and the other either Warriors or Acolytes against ships that are resistant against thermal and kinetic damage. So you can use either Warriors or Acolytes here. So this feat, it also very good against destroyers. It works as good as, or almost as good as Kiting Hawk. The idea is exactly the same, you just mitigate all the damage and slowly kill the opponent, and you will have the control very comfortably. But unlike the Hawk, you also can fight frigates just fine, because the bulk of your damage comes from drones, and you can't really mitigate against drones. So this is like a very flexible tanky kiter that can kill both destroyers and frigates very well. Okay, these are all the feats that I think work and are pretty decent. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next videos.